Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. These are the earrings that I'm going to show you how to make today. So this is the material set you're going to need. These are the clay cutters. They are brand new up on my Etsy shop right now. It comes as a bundle, so we've got our embossed leaf teardrop cutters. We've got two different size micro petal cutters. We've got a small and a large, and we also have a micro leaf cutter. Okay, on to the clays. So this is the base clay. It is rolled to a 2mm thickness, and these are my micro cutter slabs. I've got a Bordeaux, a pink and a green leaf colour. They are all rolled to about setting 1 or 2 on my pasta machine. So to begin with, we always dip our embossed cutters in some corn flour, tap off the excess, and then this will help the cutter to release from the clay. So just give it a little tap, and then we're going to press it firmly into the clay. Make sure you push all around the edges on the cutting edge, but also make sure you're pushing the leaves, the embossed leaves, so that they leave a lovely indent. And before we remove the cutter, give it a good wiggle, and this will just help to gently release the cutter rather than ripping the clay as you lift it up. There we go. And we're going to do exactly the same for the second side. I've sped it up for you, and you can just sort of pause and start the video if you're making along with this. Okay guys, those look good. We're going to start moving on to our petals. And this is what I use. It's a fondant sponge. You can find this in your baking section of your crafting store, and it's great for shaping petals out of clay as well. So make sure that your thinly cut clay is stuck nicely down to your tile before you begin, and each time you cut a petal, dip it in your corn flour, because micro cutters particularly will pick up the clay really easily. And we're going to cut 5 of the large petals in our Bordeaux colour. I've just sped this along now just to speed up the petal cutting, and now we're going to cut out 5 of the smaller petals in the Bordeaux colour again in exactly the same way. Make sure you dust with corn flour. And these, by the way, I should just mention, are for each earring, so you'll need 5 of the large and 5 of the small for each earring. I'm just showing one for today. So here we go, 5 of the mini Bordeaux, and then once we've finished cutting out our big flower, we're going to cut out the petals for our smaller flower, which is in this pink colour, and we're going to use 5 of the minis for this. Now, as you can see, I forgot to dust, and this is what happened. My clay came up with my cutter. If this happens, just use a needle tool and just push it along the edge and it will just pop out. There we go. So that's why we need to dust. It's very frustrating to keep lifting up your clay when you don't want to. So once we've finished cutting out our petals, we're going to just cut out our leaves. So we're going to use 2 leaves for each earring. So I'm just cutting out 2 for now. And then once we're finished cutting all of our micro shapes, we're going to remove the clay from behind. And then I'm going to transfer all my petals onto my fondant sponge. So use a little soft bristled brush just to wipe away any excess corn flour. This is easier with the petals to do before baking. Sometimes you can do it after baking, it doesn't really matter, but I just find it easier to do it now. There we go. And then once we've done this, use a tissue blade to gently lift off your shapes and transfer them onto your fondant sponge. Okay guys, now once you've transferred all the petals over, you're going to want to just soften any raggedy edges with your fingers and just neaten up the petals a little bit before we start to shape them with our ball tool. So use a nice large size ball tool and we're going to swipe the petal 3 times over each of the bumps just to try and keep that sort of petal shape as it is. It doesn't matter if they go uneven. Actually, I like it when they're slightly different because they look, you know, more real when they're not exactly perfect. So swipe it 3 times over each of the bumps, and as you can see, the petal will curl nicely into a curled shape, and that'll hold the shape as a flower really nicely when you assemble it onto your earring base. So we're going to do this over all the petals, do exactly the same thing on the small petals as well, and then we'll be ready to assemble our flowers. Okay guys, we have our petals ready and we're going to start assembling our first flower. So this is the large petal we're picking up first. Now we're going to think carefully before we place our first petal because we don't want to cover the embossed leaf shape that we've just made. So we want to just, I've forgotten to remove my skeleton clay there. Okay, so we want to make sure that it's near the edge of the earring but not overhanging too much. We can curl the edges of the petal up, and then we're going to go in a circular motion. Once we've sort of happy with the placement of the first petal, we're going to go around with all 5 of the large petals, just pressing in the center of the petal to secure it down, and then you sort of flick the edges up and just shape them how you like them. So obviously it is covering the little embossed shape a tiny bit, but not too much. And as I said, you know, just flick your petals up to how you like the look of them. Now once we've got our base ring of petals, we're going to start overlapping our little small micro petals. So place them in between 2 of the larger ones, sort of like brickwork, so that they don't sit on top of the large petals, but they overlap them nicely. And you can use 4 or 5 of these petals, just depending on how full your flower looks. 4 might be enough. I think I just used 4 in the end. And you can sort of curl your petals inwards as well, just to make the flower look a little bit more authentic. And there we go. There is our base flower on. So now guys, we're going to do exactly the same for our second flower. We're going to clean off any raggedy edges, and we're going to roll with our ball tool, roll the petals just as we did with the other ones. But before we start placing our second flower, we're going to position our 2 little leaves. So using a tissue blade, lift off your leaf, and then again make sure the edges are nice and clean, get off any raggedy edges, and then you can shape your leaf. I'm going to just point mine in the edges a little bit more. And then we're going to position one of these just at the bottom of our flower here. Again, make sure that you don't cover your embossed section too much. And then our second leaf is going to be positioned just coming upwards here, coming up the top of our flower, pointing up to the top of the earring. Okay, now we're going to use our scalpel to make our leaf veins. So let's push a line gently in the center of our leaf. Make sure you don't cut straight through the leaf because it is a very thin slab of clay. And then we're going to do, I like to try and do 4 little slices on either side of our center line. I'm just going to get 3 in on this side, and then I'm going to do the same on the top leaf. I've sped this one up, so give the video a pause while you're doing this. And then we're going to start to place our second flower. So I'm going to pop this just above, I don't want sort of any overlapping space. I'm going to place this just above my large flower, and now with this I'm going to manipulate the leaves on the large one in a moment. So again, we're going to come round in a circular motion with 5 of the little petals, and then I'm going to just sort of lift up my Bordeaux petal a bit there so that I can just get underneath there so that these are nice and close together. And these will just sort of sit nice and snugly together. And then one more petal, just going to overlap slightly. And then you can just move your little petals around and shape them how you like yours to be. Okay guys, now that we've got our flowers made, I'm going to use my smallest little circle punch, and I'm going to punch out 2 little circular discs out of a micro rolled slab of the base colour clay here. And then I'm just going to use my needle tool and place one in the centre of my large flower, and then I'm just going to use that needle tool to press it all the way around, give it some texture and get it firmly stuck down all the way around the centre there. And then for my smaller flower, I'm going to use exactly the same centre, except I might just halve this one to make it a little bit smaller. And then again, just using the needle tool, just give it a good press down. And that is our flower ready to go. So you're going to do exactly the same on the other side, do it in mirror image, and then you can bake according to your clay's cooking instructions. Then once your clay is cooked, give it a sand, and I've drilled a hole in the top, and now I'm going to use my gold pen to fill in our embossed leaf shape. I did the first one without hitting the record button, so I'm going to show you on my second leaf here. So using a really fine brush, we're going to I've emptied some of the ink from my calligraphy gold pen onto my tile, and I'm just really gently filling in all of the embossed shapes. If you spill any of this on the edges, you can remove it. You can remove it straight away. You can use some nail varnish remover acetone. I did mine here. I actually spilt a little bit and just used a wet wipe, wet wipe removed it fine. And once that's ready, we're going to attach our fixings. So with a sideways twist, we open up our jump ring and then put our earring and our little earring fixing on. And then with a sideways twist, we close it up until our jump rings meet in the center. Just give this a little zhuzh to close it up. And there we go, guys. How gorgeous do they look? I'm going to try and show you in the sunshine how that gold pen sparkles. It's a bit hard to catch the light. If I try and twist it upwards, you can see it shining in the light. They're super pretty, and they are so quick and easy to make as well. So there we have them, guys. Now I'm going to position them onto my earring, my ring board, and I'm going to give them their little photo shoot so that they go up on my Etsy shop. So this is what our earrings look like. This is in the sunlight. You can see that lovely gold pen sparkling. And let's add on those cutters to see how we made them. So we've got our 2 little leaf embossed teardrop shapes, our little micro cutter petals, and our little micro leaf as well. So it's a really simple set, but it makes such a pretty pair of earrings. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this, and I hope it inspires you to make some. And if you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up, guys. And I hope that you leave me a comment down below if you want me to make any other videos. But otherwise, I will speak to you all really soon, and I'll see you next time in another video. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.